Stolen identities are being used to create businesses. And I personally cannot imagine a level higher than that.
Fraudsters are now using those emails that says, watch out for scams, click here to secure your account, to basically that new vector for them. Fraud and scams will be the world's biggest single individual industry.
We've been saying for years and years and years is we do not have enough collaboration on this side, especially in this world of automation. It's only going to drive that nail deeper, right? We need to collaborate effectively.
What is up, man? We're here at Safeguard. I got Alexander here today.
Yes, sir. Safeguard's amazing.
It is you've never been to Colorado before.
Never once.
So what do you think so far?
Absolutely gorgeous.
Except for today.
Even today, right? Coming from the desert in Vegas,
That's
right?
true.
I love the rain. I love the ambiance and everything about it. Where we're located is beautiful. The grounds is beautiful. Amazing.
This is a really, really nice property. Like when I saw you downstairs, I was coming back from the far side because I thought that's where the breakout session that I was going to go to was, but it wasn't. And I didn't even know there's a whole other room. It's like a nice with fireplace and like seating and everything. It's like way down there. It's past the bowling alley. Yes, there's a bowling alley here, everybody. But it's past that. But this is crazy. Like, what do you think? How do you feel about the altitude? Are you feeling it yet? Walking around?
I don't
huffing and
actually.
puffing? I do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't. Well, I also didn't know what to expect. I guess I'm never in high elevation. But no, I don't think I've really.
That's why you feel a little winded, a little earlier than you normally would.
I'm always winded.
Yeah, that's true. Me too. Me too. So you just joined, and so you just left Civ Science, and who did you join?
I joined IPQS, IP Quality Score.
That's the official name, and we'll talk a little bit about why you joined in a little bit because it is important, to know when big movers and shakers join other companies, it matters and that people pay attention. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But today you had some things on your mind that you wanted to specifically talk about, some cool stuff that you've been seeing. So tell me a little bit about it.
So the one thing, the development in the dialogue that's happening at these conferences are actually it's similar to what we had said at MRC. It seems like growing across the entire marketplace, we're seeing a lot more advanced fraud types.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we look back to one of the previous frameworks that I had offered, I always spoke about linear methods, multi-touch methods, and multi-system methods. 3 of the conversations that I had today were all centered around multi-system methods.
Could give people a quick recap for people that haven't seen your very popular episode, by the way, where you talked about that.
So the linear method is where, it's very A-B. The bad guy gets a hold of identity information or payment information, and they deploy it against a platform. Very A-B. I got it. I used it. Done. Multi-touch is if you think about mule accounts or ATOs, where the account's created, it's aged a little bit, there's a little bit of transactions that take place, there's aging of the account, and then ultimately it's a bust out. Well, that's a multi-step process. The storyline to the fraudster requires multiple steps, but it's all still contained inside one platform's data. Multi-system is, let's say that the mule account is created on a iGaming platform, and then the ATO takes place on the banking platform. And between the two, the transfers are able to be made.
Yeah.
To the fraudster, it's multi-systems to pull
Yeah,
up
so
this
there's
one story.
Got it. And because it used to be like the old days was just regular triangulation schemes. Somebody set up like a website. They were only trying to buy inventory from me, just specifically me. They didn't need to piece together multiple pieces of information or have multiple websites that they'd had to go through to get one chunk of money.
Precisely.
It's just the money now though is a lot larger than it used to be. It used to be like $45, $50. Now it's $1 million at a time.
Now we're talking about the AFOV or the AFE, the average fraud order value or the average fraud event when you take the entire storyline. Yes, being worth 5-6 digits.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it makes it so, and then we have to say AI because we're legally required to say AI on all the things. But AI is making it faster and making it easier for people to do that. And that's the thing is you can have a whole bunch of accounts that you could burn because if just one of them works, there's your big payday. Instead of having to piece together all these little $45, $75, $100, it used to be even when I worked in ticketing, if the order was over $500, it was 10x more likely to be fraud. That just because of the value of it, because they're trying to go for bigger amounts. And then they seem to have found a way to go for big amounts. And it takes sometimes more work, but like I said, the AI takes a lot of the heavy lifting out of it. So maybe even less work to do these multi-systems to get a huge payday. And you could just send your agents out to go do it. You don't got to do anything. So
yeah, send out your agents to go establish 10,000 different catalog orders, like we were discussing the other night. That'll associate IP, email, and physical address. Go send out 1,000 credit applications with all of these different types of identities. Go do anything en masse, and it's going to create the correlation between these data points.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to ultimately lead to a massive influx of synthetic identities or successful identity theft.
Yeah, so that's where, I want to talk about it a little bit when we get to that point, but we're seeing a resurgence in email intelligence. And we kind of pushed email to the back for a number of years because we just looked at all the other data points that were happening. So email wasn't as valuable to us as fraud fighters because we could get most of what we needed outside of the email.
Right.
But what we're seeing now is, especially with ATOs and account creates for drop shippers and abuse stuff, not so much on the fraud side, but on the abuse side, we're seeing this huge resurgence in email being extremely valuable.
Yes.
So I have my team, we like I said, we have some of those products that we use on my side, and my team is leaning heavier and heavier and heavier into what's the age of the email, what's the trust, what's the identity of the email. The trust is the word that we always keep coming back to. It seems to be the word of the year this year. I think a lot of it came out of agentic stuff, is what's the intent, what's the trust on those sorts of things. But we're seeing the email really come back. And it's the similar thing to your point, the waves, the ebbs and flows of things is 5 years ago, we were like, screw ATOs, they don't matter anymore. Right. And then they just came rushing back, and most of that is coinciding with the rise of synthetic identities and being able to get pieces of information out of those accounts in order to create a new identity. Not necessarily take over that ATO account to actually take it over, but to do stuff and manipulate it to create something on your multi-touch point over here. So, we are here at Safeguard, and everybody has their opinions about what things are coming in the future. Absolutely. And I want to spend some time on this, because this is the meat of this particular discussion. But, a couple of years ago, you and I did one of these, a non-video one, and we said education was one thing. And that definitely came true, especially in the scams, you see Bake sending the emails, trying to educate their folks and everything. One of the things that I got from the other recording that I did here, which everybody can go and listen to that, it'll be linked in the description of this, was fraudsters are now using those emails that says watch out for scams, click here to secure your account, to basically a new vector for them to get scraping and stuff on that. So as you look into the future, let's say the next 3 years, and then to keep in line with your 3 pillars, what are a few of the things that you think we should be looking for and what we should be even doing? Now, let's take IPQS out of this particular thing, just in general information.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been the same thing that I've been saying for 6 years now, since March of 2020. Fraudsters move upstream, right? We aimed all of our fraud prevention at the checkout. Where did they go? Upstream to the account access.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Then,
and what's stored on account isn't always the stored credential. It's the addresses, it's the phone numbers, it's stored tickets, it's anything that you might have if it's a wallet thing.
Sure.
That's the value of the account.
And then evaluate, depending on the industry. If you take over an iGaming account, if a fraudster takes over an iGaming account, that's effectively a bank account.
Yeah.
So now they can transfer stolen funds, like I was saying earlier. They can transfer the stolen funds into. They can extract one. Like I keep saying,
you can kind of wash money through those, but they have a lot of AML people on those. A lot of AML people. There's a lot of compliance that goes into iGaming stuff.
Sure, but there's also those policies that you can just walk through and make sure that you're extracting $4,999. They know how to figure out the transaction dollar amounts. They're going to figure out the AML transactions.
This is why I've always said there needs to be dynamic limits for everybody, and it needs to be changing all the time. So every account, all the time.
That's another thing that I've mentioned that I feel that most vendors should adopt is you have fraud prevention at the event level. So it's at account creation, it's at account login, it's at transaction, it's at customer service interaction. But then you also need fraud prevention at the account level. How does that account perform historically?
Yeah.
What are the dollar amounts that they deposit over what period of time, and what looks anomalous on that account? Then you go up from there, and it's the platform. What grouping of accounts are exhibiting suspicious behavior relative to the rest of the accounts that are housed on our platform? And then up from there is where we live, is the network data, right? What are we pulling in from across all of the platforms that is actionable to be funneled down the rest. And to your point, they need to be tracking, especially in those situations, they need to be tracking performance data across the account, not just across the session, but across the account.
Yeah. I think that's where traditional fraud tools, we had a really good rub with our rules, then our scores. But to your point, we always did it on the checkout page. And then we started seeing the ATOs come back a couple of years ago. And so we said, hey, let's put some friction in on ATOs or log in and do that and then account create for drop shippers, which is fine. But it's totally, this is where you see like the rise of hybrid, even in the AI world where you can script up to a certain point and then humans got to take over and drive for a little bit. And then you can script a little more. So there's a hybrid approach where you see the interaction can look legitimate and it's different. We're not just checking mouse clicks anymore because now the mouse is actually moving and it's clicking in different places. But good sessions can go bad right in flight on that. And that's where like I personally have loved like the CDN level solutions, like the no code ones that sit all the way and can see all of the traffic, every endpoint, the whole thing. It's just like, it's a lot of data. And this is where, again, like machine learning, and now we call it AI, had to come in to make sense of all of that because there's so much that's happening there. But you get really cool things that come out of that where like you can even use your analyst to diagnose what's happening because now you can kind of session replay. Like there's some companies that do that out there in the world that you can session replay, but you can see what they were doing and how they were going. You can see mispasted like gift cards or credit card numbers or mistyped emails. Do they delete it one at a time or does it delete everything all at once? Like you can see a lot more information on that. It's both for good and bad.
I was just going to say, man.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk. Like, what is your mind when I say like all of that? Like where we're looking at all of that data, where does your mind go that could be exploited even on that?
Well, so touching back on that framework of linear, multi-touch, and multi-system, the obvious opportunity for fraudsters is to figure out how to interact between two systems and get them to go. Because the age-old adage, you mentioned education earlier, the age-old adage that we've been saying for years and years and years is we do not have enough collaboration on this side.
Yeah.
Right? We were saying it earlier that, outrunning the bear isn't necessary. You just have to outrun your
I always say I just want my website to be annoying enough for a fraudster that they go to my competitor.
Precisely.
That's what I always say. Yeah.
Right. And that's what's going to, unfortunately, it's really, especially in this world of automation, it's only going to drive that nail deeper. Right. We need to collaborate effectively. We need to reinforce between each other.
This is where, like, you kind of said it, like the consortium stuff, like it's not necessarily be good because it's too late. But my mind goes to, like, that's the only way. Is if we can make a consortium that people can actually collaborate on. But you have to have guardrails on it because we saw when some of the email reputation companies in their early infancy, like if I had a personal problem with that individual, I could go in and mark them as negative. And then the whole thing's poison for everybody. So there has to be guardrails on that. So like I still think that to your point, we need to collaborate and we need to find a way to formally collaborate. Yep. You're starting to see some of the phone companies are starting to make like the T-Mobile and Verizon, for example, are starting to make SIM data to an actual consortium for themselves that they could share amongst themselves that will be basically authenticated on the back end that says, yes, this is the right SIM card for the right phone on this network. So we know that it has to be that person that probably unlocked it, if we can get through that sort of thing, then maybe we'll get liability shifts based on those sorts of things, but that's down the road.
I'm super excited about that.
That is really cool. I don't think that's a whole lot of publicity around that just yet. So anybody, you can come Google it. There's just Google that. Just Google all the phrase for that. Use your AI, use your Gemini for that. Use your ChatGPT for that.
And T-Mobile, if you want to get loud, we're right here.
The guy was just down in the session I was listening. He could have come up here and had a chat with us about it. But I think that we're going to need to do those sorts of things, a more formal one. And I don't know if having a for-profit company is the right answer. It might have to be a non-profit situation. That's kind of like how the MAG started. It was like a group of merchants that needed to share some information, so they started the MAG. Sure. And I think that's where my mind goes with it. But I also think it needs to be broken out industry by industry. Or even on the back end of that, have different models, if you will, of industry by industry, because someone that's like trying to transfer money is a very different risk profile than someone that's trying to buy a vest. You know?
Sure. And there's an argument against that where they say, well, I fall with you. I say industry by industry is going to be, despite all of its pros and cons, is going to be the one that's the best. And the argument against that is, well, mule accounts and money laundering apply to iGaming, banking, fintech, crypto. And if you break them up by industries, that's carving up.
I think it should be like fintech. And I think we should put
Just put them all together.
yeah, if there's a way that you can get money into an account that it's stored on the account, like a stored value type account, that should be a type of thing, because that's always going to be a high target because there's stored actual cash value. And that includes crypto, that includes iGaming, betting money, horse track, off track betting stuff like Twin Spires, all of those things, like the FanDuels of the world for your daily fantasy sports, even down to like your Yahoo account where you can store funds on your Yahoo account for your regular fantasy sports. Like those are things that I think, we maybe need to have segments that do that, and then have e-commerce ones, and then maybe even regions, because regional, there's nuances. Like, for example, in Japan, I don't always get email because phone number is more important there for them. So, yeah.
I think that'd be really fun. Let's kick it up.
All right, we're creating it today.
Today, we're launching it, industry by industry.
Yeah. So that was one. Give me another one. We got two more to go.
So to recap, it's moving upstream, right? So we saw the movement from transaction, where we built all of our armories around, we protected so dearly at transaction, and unfortunately, we've standardized this idea that our fraud exposure and our fraud losses are measured in chargebacks.
Yeah.
It's a part of it.
It is a
But
part of
it's
it.
not all of it.
For me, it's authorizations and it's abuse too, because I got to lump abuse in, even though it's non-criminal, it costs more than I lose in chargebacks.
And then consider, I don't want to rehash this, but going into ATOs and extracting any of that value that's stored there, however it is.
Yeah.
Think about the lifetime value, think about the marketing acquisition cost, think about all of these different things. So that's with ATO. Then there's a different way of going upstream. So that's upstream if you take consideration of the platform. We started at checkout, now we move back to the account, then we move up to account creation, and you see all of these different frauds emerge. It's all wildly predictable. You could just see you went upstream and you started to exploit those systems. So then the second dimension, not pillar, is going
Jesus, man, we have pyramids, we have pillars, we have layers.
We're doing
now we got
everything,
dimensions. Next is going to be universes.
I guess that's just how my never mind.
Yeah.
That's how my spectrum runs. So then you have going up the other way. So you've got identity, right? So if I start at if a bad actor starts at a person's payment method, well, then you think about that as a hierarchy. You've got payment method with issuer 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, debit, credit, and all these different things there. And then you throw in their iGaming where they're storing value and all those different things. So that's their payment method. So I got a CSV with all these payment methods. Cool. Well, then you go up from there. Now I have account information. Well, then you go up from there, and now I have social security, date of birth, address, and the full profile available to me over here. You're going upstream on the identity from payment all the way up to its central core of its identity. And once you get there, you get to go do the next biggest thing, which is to aggregate a collection of identities and go create a business account.
Yeah, okay.
So now you just launch an LLC.
Yeah, the business account, that's where you get the big money. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And now you're there. So my prediction has been for the last 6 years, has been mule accounts, has been identity theft, has been synthetic identity fraud, all the way up to identity theft, and then ultimately business creation, where you establish the payroll accounts and you ATO accounts for funding, or you go and establish credit lines and trade lines.
So fraud as a service, you see these companies that are doing, or they actually have programmers that work for them and things like that.
And we are there. Stolen
we are
identities
there.
are being used to create businesses. And I personally cannot imagine a level higher than that, unless you launch a bank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once they're there.
God, if you launch a bank and then you get you could rug pull everybody. Woo.
Well, there were a couple of.
We heard it today. We're starting a bank.
So yeah, I don't see fraud. I see fraud as having a ceiling. I would love to be corrected. If anybody can come out.
So, well, you do. Okay, interesting. So, Andre, the CEO of Incognia, they were the last sponsor of the show. He predicts that fraud economy, fraud and scams, will be the world's biggest single individual industry in the next 10 years. More money will be going through that one specific, more money will be lost to fraud and scams and passing through fraudulent activity than it will be in any other industry. And I tend to agree with him too.
So I'm forced to feel like scams doesn't count under fraud.
Yeah.
Semantically. Because it's really the person interacting with the platform, really doing
it. Is, yeah. It's just they're being duped, and that's why it was always been so hard about the scams, and that's why the companies like Charm that's been on the show have a really cool product too, because it's they're trying to get into that real person's head. And they're not looking at device intelligence or anything like that. They're looking at the actual person, which is a really different way to look at how fighting fraud. And we're not here to talk about them, but that's just like, you see it moving outside of the technology and into the human, which almost every time I have somebody on the show and we talk about these different things that are happening, how people are losing money, it almost always winds up as a person being the weakest link. Always. Every single time. It always starts with social engineering in some capacity.
Gets the biggest results for the bad guys, 100%.
This has been a pretty cool prediction thing. Like, I do like talking about this stuff while we're here at this wonderful conference, Safeguard, here in Colorado Springs, outside of Colorado Springs.
Super huge shout out to Safeguard. Brian Davis, Peter Vu, you guys killed it, right? Great job.
Absolutely. You got to call Mitchell in there too, because, you know, he's the CEO.
Well, he's the one I haven't met. So yes, you too.
we can fix that before we leave here. So we just took us through and scared everybody on these, how much money is walking out the door on scams. You gave us 3 dimensions, pillars, and pyramid to live inside those things. This is damn near the fraud cinematic universe over here. But you did just join a new company.
Yes.
And we mentioned that you did at the beginning, and we said that we're going to come back and talk about it. Mm-hmm. So we're coming back to talk about it.
Absolutely.
So tell me about it.
Yeah. So at first, I want to say that it was a very long thought process that I went through to.
I was there, and I watched your struggle. I watched your mental struggle.
I went to you. Yeah. It was a big deal for me to leave SIFT. I love SIFT. I love the people there. I truly do believe in their.
They've been around a long time. I have nothing but love for SIFT Science.
Absolutely.
Wait, SIFT now. Just SIFT.
Just SIFT, man.
Yeah. But IPQS is your future. IP quality score.
We're moving forward with IPQS.
I do like all the guys over there. Dan, known him for a few years now. Dennis, known him for a few years now. I'll cut some video over the party that we just had a couple weeks ago when we were all in Vegas. But tell me a little bit about it, man.
Yeah. There's a bunch of things that are exciting me. It boils down into 3 primary categories. We've got our data with our honeypots. We've got our ability to customize our our score sliders, which I'll get into. And then the third one is that we're completely agnostic, right? We get to work with absolutely anybody and everybody.
That's pretty cool. So I am definitely curious about the honeypot thing specifically, because in the prep for this, you told me some pretty cool stuff. So I guess let's just get into it, and I'll let you tackle it however you want to tackle it.
So one, yes, even though the name is IP quality score, that's where we began. That's where a lot of the data that we aggregated was centered around, and we've done a lot of great things with IP data. But beyond that, we have every type of data set that you would want access to. We resolve PII, resolve identity based on bureau data, based on telephonic data. We resolve identity based on email, phone number, and physical address. So we're way beyond IP at this point. And what it allows us to do in the scope of IP is build up exactly what you just said. We have much richer.
Sure. This ain't a TV show. Come on, this is a little YouTube show.
Information that surrounds any of the IP interactions, right? And so I think that the thing that's most beautiful about it is, especially when it comes to credit unions, right? Those are the ones who are the least prepared.
Yeah.
Right. And those are the ones that are getting hit the hardest, because fraudsters don't care where they plant
most
money.
Of the, when I see big attacks, it's always centered around one bank, and it always has a credit union, and it's like a smaller credit union.
Because it doesn't matter. They don't need to go to one of the big 4s or the big 5s up there in order to store their money there. They're stolen funds. They don't have to go target that and go up against those defenses. They can go to a credit union, satisfy those requirements, and go through. And we're seeing that huge thing happen. And so by leveraging the device intelligence and the IP data, we're able to see all of this rich information and give it to you centralized to the IP. That's going to do that. Now, in addition to that, we've got the proxy piercing, the residentials, and all that stuff that I am not technically qualified to speak about. So if anyone wants to dive deeper, you know where to go.
Link in the description, everybody. Probably the QR code probably popped up. There we go. Now we got that out of the way.
Yeah, I know where my limitations are.
So you, in the prep call for this, you brought up something about a honeypot that was it's really stood out to me. Like, not a lot of things get my ears to perk up, and that did. Perked up like one of the deers that we see running around on Safeguard here. So
I got one of those pictures, man. Sweet little deer.
Yeah, we almost caught one that first night. We almost caught one.
It was swiped a pet, little head
pet. I was telling the people I did a Jeep tour yesterday, 2.5 hours, and it went up an old railroad road, and then came back down through the city and went to like the hippie thing, and then like a Garden of the Gods is what they call it here, which is like these big rock formations. Really cool. That's really cool. I really like that. The rest of it was like wasn't for me. Yeah, I was telling the people. There it is. There. So it wasn't really for me, but it was one of those things where it was a lot of fun to be in the environment. And I was telling the people in there, because we kept seeing these mule deer. This mule deer here. That's what them. It's not mangy. They look mangy, but it's just how they are.
Okay.
So they're fine. They're healthy. They're fine. And I kept making a joke that I was trying to catch one. And they basically were telling me not to, believe it or not. Could you believe that?
Conservation, maybe.
You know? But the guy was giving me fun facts, like how like they're not mangy because they look sick. They look sick, and there's just a ton of them, and they run around here, but they're not sick. So that's where like my long and people were laughing at my jokes, but that's a whole thing. That's a whole different thing.
Don't steal the mangy deer.
Yeah, don't steal the mangy deer. They'll put one in your room. They'll try and take it home. So yeah, tell me about this honeypot, baby.
Will do. So the thing that appealed to me, a big appeal to joining IPQS was the way that their honeypots are set up. Right when I initially heard about it,
Can you tell people what a honeypot is, just for the people that might have stumbled upon this particular episode?
Simply put, a honeypot is a deployment, whether it's a website or an app or whatever it may be, primarily websites and apps, that are where the verifications that are on it are lightened a little bit in order for bad guys to come and transact, and then they collect the bad information. So they're kind of welcoming it. They get stuck in the honeypot, and that's where it comes from.
Yeah, we used to do it years ago when I worked in movie tickets, is we would create like this, we would wait for them to make a purchase, like we'd have to bait them into making this purchase, and then we could gather whatever information, because we would get attacked every day, but they would give up after that one day, and then they'd try again the next day. So I was fortunate. This was easier times. And so we would I'd honeypot them into buying a purchase that morning, and sometimes I would go on their site and make a purchase, so to kind of reverse honeypot them into, I know what they need to fulfill on their side, so then I would wait for them, and then I could grab all their information in my tool all the time. Yeah, and then I just like charge back on that.
Poke you back.
Yeah,
I like that.
It got to the point where they were actually sending like threatening words to me in the emails that they were trying to use, and all that, like down to my name. But like they were never gonna come get me.
Of course not.
Yeah,
That's really interesting.
So anyway, so you guys have this honeypot set up, but you have more than one.
Yes. So initially I believed that it was our distillery and our coffee company, and then I think there's a couple of other that are actually stood up real companies that exist, and I thought that those were being deployed as the honeypots. But what I learned since being here is that we have 10,000 machines that are running thousands of instances, right? So whether it's a simple email server or a database server or a website or an app or any of these different things, it's a wide variety of different instances and 110,000 of them. And what makes it super special, to me at least, is the fact that if you were to go as a normal general user, if you were to go interact with any one of these instances, you wouldn't see anything of value.
Yeah.
But what is there in the metadata, and for the scrapers, like the bad actors are going to use scrapers to go find vulnerabilities, you're going to find a wide range of these vulnerabilities, but they're not tied to anything of value. So as these bad actors are interacting with all of these honeypots, we are collecting that passive data, the device, the IP, and all of that, the behaviors and all of that stuff. And in addition to that, in any of the instances where PII can be transacted, we're also collecting that PII transaction, the data that they're transacting.
Okay.
The value of that is nothing is at risk.
Yeah.
When we collect that data.
Do you notify any of the people that, like let's say that there was PII exchange, and clearly it's them having a list of compromised something from somewhere that they're trying to use? Is there any companies or anything that you guys notify to like inform these people, like have it been pwned or any of those sorts of things, that basically says like your information's out there somewhere?
That answer TBD. I think there's some thing that exists in that vein, but I'm unsure of what it is.
I had another person on the show. They report email, like compromised emails to Google for the suspicious websites. Okay. So their product looks for that sort of stuff, and then does notify. It's part of the Google when you go visit a website and it's like, this website's unsafe, and Chrome's telling you that. They do that. So the reporting thing, I'd never thought about that, because I'm so used to to your point is like we consume it and we put it into our own models, what we're trying to do, and like I've never thought about pushing it back out
Actually,
before.
Go tell the people.
Yeah, and that's where like my mind just went to that. Sorry to derail your conversation.
No, so I know there's restrictions on that. I remember hearing conversations around compliance and regulations about data sharing. Like if you house the data, you have to walk through different regulations and compliance requirements.
Yeah,
that's above.
Data processing agreements usually has like the data processor and data controllers, those sorts of things. So you have to be careful about what you're doing, especially in GDPR, any sort of EU stuff. California, they get really crazy about all that stuff. So, so tell me some other cool shit that's going on over there.
Well, so we've got that, the honeypot data there. Actually, the last statement I'll say about that is the fact that, I'll drive home the fact that nothing is at risk when we're collecting the
Yeah.
data. And if you contrast that against consortium data otherwise, the loss has already happened, right? Someone had to lose money for it to be reported as bad.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. So we're about 90 days before the chargeback comes in. If they transact with our honeypot, we're getting that data on day 1, where day 30 they might transact with some, big box retailer. And then on day 60,
Do
they
they
get the
always
chargeback.
delay like that? Like,
Well, just think about it. Say if I'm interacting with a honeypot unknowingly because it's all been automated and scripted
Yeah.
through my computer, it's going to go try and do that stuff to no success. Well, then ultimately I'm going to use that same data set and go try to transact with
so because my thing is like, if I was a fraudster, and you could tell me if I'm wrong on my thinking on this, is like, let's say I bought a list of credit cards from the dark web. Okay, I would want to turn that around into something as quick as possible.
it. Sure.
So like, I would, if I was out like testing, where my mind would go is I got this list, right? And obviously not, it's going to be 100%. So I need to test it. So I need to find a vulnerable website that gives me an authentication, yes, no. And then as soon as I got that authentication, I would be having my AI agent go to try and buy a Best Buy laptop or buy and store pickup, that sort of thing, like right away.
Yes and no, because when as a fraudster operates, there's different levels of accuracy, different levels of value.
Okay.
I would want to put, it's kind of like a mountain or an iceberg, right?
Not 3 pillars?
Not 3 pillars no more. There's stacked of
There we
rows.
go.
The most bottom ones are going to be the ones, by the highest volume, the ones that you don't know what kind of value there is. They might be throwaway things,
Okay.
whatever's, right? Well, those ones you're going to want to automate against. The fraudster is going to want to automate against. Let me go see where it can play, see if there's anything. If anything gets an authorization, cool, great, let's run that. Then up a level from there, the things that you might want to reserve, because you don't want that ping, that initial ping to come through and code 10 the card.
Yeah,
Right?
okay.
Because if you get that authorization, now the card's no good. What
Yeah,
good was
because
it?
a lot of people get like, and I used to get them on my phone, the push, anytime like my card
Sure.
would be attempted or used on that, just to tell me like, and now it annoys the shit out of me because I buy too much stuff and I just don't want to see it on there. I don't want to be reminded what I
Ding,
purchased.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. So I turn those off. But a lot of people, that are more casual spenders or might have a little less money would probably be more aware of that because every dollar really, really counts, you know?
course.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So I could see that. So keep going. You're in
So,
row 2.
In that second one, you don't want to throw away anything that would work on the first pass, but you might run some tests to see and all of that. Then you have your premium information, whether that's identity information. Well, identity information is a long game anyway, but payment information, you just want to go try the thing, right? I have high confidence that this card's going to go through. I bought it from this vendor who's always done me well. I bought it from this fraud as a service guy who really gives me good insight and all these different things. You're going to reserve those for that. So by volume, the majority of it's going to be tested before it's executed, before it's actually applied to a checkout. Then up from there.
Okay. Thank you for educating me on that.
At least that's how I approached it.
Yeah. So what else we got?
Another thing that I thought was really cool was, so we've contrasted against the way that the consortium works elsewhere in the network, where compared to the honeypot network, there is up to a 90-day delay. It could be 2 weeks, it could be 45 days, who knows? But up to around a 90-day delay before that same data point is accurately resulted as negative or untrustworthy. The second thing that I love places us against the people that resolve in scores, right? And so what really got my attention was in the dashboard of the IPQS product, we see this screen that has all of these customizable sliders in where
Like the sandwiches?
like this. Oh,
I'm really big into buffalo chicken sliders right now, but no, keep going. Sliders.
So for those people that want to take a particular transaction point or engagement point and run a score back, you don't just get the network model. You don't just get the industry model. You can actually go in there and customize.
So like for me, like I was just saying earlier, like for email didn't matter to me as much. I could say, give me less on email and give me more on like
Weigh it less.
geolocation or something.
Right.
Okay.
Weigh this geolocation heavier, weigh this email lower.
Do you guys have anything, like do you give, like if I was to sign up, would I get assigned a rep that could help me find where my, like at least my starting point is? Like would you guys run my data and give me like an SME that's going to be in there and
Yes.
saying this is how your custom setup's going to be?
Yes, we are set up for that.
Okay. So, Alexander, thanks for coming on the show again. We always tend to do these live in person here at a conference. It is where we get to see each other. What's your plans for the rest of the day? Hit the bar with me.
We're going to go to the bar.
Yeah.
We're going to hang out. We're going to socialize. I mean, so the thing that's really amazing about Safeguard is the quality of people that are here.
Yeah, it's all high, heavy, all C levels, all heavy hitters, high intent, ready to learn. That's one cool thing about it is they're ready to learn. Like how they did the little 15-minute like speed dating meetings. I was skeptical, but I really like it because I don't feel too pressured.
Sure.
The time is short. It's 15 minutes. You're in and out of there. They tell you to move on. And I think that like people, you get a lot more engagement when people know it's brief.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking forward to my follow-ups, but you know,
You're gonna be
that's
flooded.
just me as a merchant.
Yeah. No, I loved it. I mean, everybody here everyone that I've spoken with knows if it was a vendor, they know what they're talking about. If it's, you know, a bank or a credit union, they know exactly what their situation is. And, you know, I'm very quick to disqualify myself,
Yeah.
right? I know where my limitations
You always do
are.
that. You always do that, though. You always undersell yourself. You got to stop doing that.
And so when we have these conversations, it's educational for me and it's educational for them. You know, this is where the best insight comes from.
Yeah.
It's in these settings.
This is our collaboration that we talked about. Still setting that up, by the way, everybody. But this is where this is our version of that.
Absolutely.
Essentially.
Love it.
And they have Buffalo Trace here. They have their own barrel pick. They also have their own Blanton's Gold. So if anybody has a corporate card and would like to purchase a bottle of that for me, I'm available.
Available to receive the package.
Yeah. Well, everybody, thanks for watching. Alexander, thanks for coming back on the show. I'll put links to IPQS in the description of this video. I'll put links to you in the description of this video. Thank you guys for lending me you on that and making it happen. Everybody, Safeguard next year, go to safeguardwhatever.com, their website is. I'll put that in there. This will be a very link-filled description.
Yes.
I'll put all of that in there for people that want to come be a part of this. This is a beautiful resort. They are here for 2 more years. They have a 3-year commitment, so we will be right back up here in the clouds. I am not looking forward to 7 inches of snow tomorrow morning when I'm golfing, but that is Colorado life. So,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Well, thanks for having me again, bro. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, guys.